Restore a maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. I would love to be able to make a great deal.
Made another move in West Asia, this time against Iran. Trump has restored a policy from his that Iran is not very fond of Donald Trump. There was allegedly a plot last year before the US presidential election, an Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. It was thwarted last September, but the suspected assassin is still at large, and now Trump has decided to ramp up pressure on Iran. He was asked if he feared another Iranian attempt on his life after he brought back his maximum pressure policy. And this was Donald Trump's response.
If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
Mr. President, when you said if they do it, they get obliterated. Just to be clear, you're talking about if Iran made an attempt on your life.
Yeah. That would be called total obliteration.
Trump says he has left instructions. If Iran manages to kill him, he has directed the US to quote-unquote obliterate the country. It's quite the threat. But why was it even being discussed? Why would Iran want to kill Donald Trump? Well, his maximum pressure policy would bring a world of hurt for Tehran. So there's always the fear that Iran could retaliate, especially considering what happened the last time. Iran signed a deal back in 2015 when Barack Obama was US president. It was conventionally known as the Iran nuclear deal. But Donald Trump tore it up unilaterally during his first term as president. He replaced it with sanctions and increased scrutiny of Iran's activities, both nuclear and otherwise. This was his first maximum pressure policy. It caused Iran's economy to crash, bringing hardship to everyone in the country, both the government and the ordinary people. This policy was in effect during all of Trump's first term, and the sanctions stayed even after he left. Joe Biden continued with Trump's policies despite trying to negotiate another Iran nuclear deal. He couldn't. And it doesn't matter now because Trump would have torn it up anyway. So now we are back to maximum pressure, and Iran is in for another bruising. First, let's look at the policy itself. It has three broad goals. Point 1, Iran should be denied a nuclear weapon and intercontinental ballistic missile. Point 2, Iran's terrorist network should be neutralized. And point 3, Iran's aggressive development of missiles as well as other asymmetric and conventional weapons capabilities should be countered. This is broadly what the deal says, what the policy says. Now, points 1 and 2 are straightforward. Iran cannot be allowed to build a nuclear weapon or an ICBM, which is an intercontinental ballistic missile, a missile that can travel over 5,000 kilometers. Officially, Iran does not have these ICBMs. It has a number of short and medium-range missiles, but no ICBMs, and Trump wants to make sure that they cannot build one. He also wants to go after Iran's proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and the Iran-backed militias in Iraq and Syria. The US wants to neutralize all of them. And then we have the last point. Iran's aggressive development of missiles, as well as other asymmetric and conventional weapons capabilities, should be countered. What does that even mean? Effectively, the US wants Iran to disarm itself completely. No more weapons, no more military activities. They want Iran to become a sitting duck. Do you really think Iran would ever agree to this? Would any sovereign nation? Best case scenario, Iran will shelve its nuclear ambitions, and Trump understands this because that's all he seemed to care about.
They cannot have a nuclear weapon. With me, it's very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
The second part of that statement was quite interesting. Trump said he does not want to be, quote-unquote, tough on Iran.
Iran situation, hopefully, I'm going to sign it, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it very much. We will see whether or not we can arrange or work out a deal with Iran. and everybody can live together, and maybe that's possible, and maybe it's not possible. So I'm signing this, and I'm unhappy to do it.
That was before he signed the order. But even afterwards, while he was standing next to Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump said this.
I say this, and I say this to Iran, who's listening very intently. I would love to be able to make a great deal, a deal where you can get on with your lives and you'll do wonderfully. You'll do wonderfully. Incredible people, industrious, beautiful, just an unbelievable group of people in Iran.
Netanyahu was right next to him as Trump called Iranians incredible people. Perhaps that is what prompted Netanyahu to remind Trump about this. Netanyahu was talking about the alleged Iranian plot to assassinate Trump, almost reminding him that Iran was his enemy. And how is Tehran dealing with all of this? Listen to what their foreign minister had to say.
I think maximum pressure is a failed experience, and testing it again will lead to another failure. If the main issue is stopping Iran from pursuing nuclear weapons, well, this is something achievable. This is not too difficult. Iran is a committed member of the NPT, and its stances are clear. Also, there is a fatwa by the Supreme Leader that has made things clear for us.
He said the maximum pressure policy failed in the past and it will fail again. However, he did seem to offer an olive branch, saying if the main issue was to stop Iran from getting nukes, it was achievable, and that Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has issued a fatwa against nukes. So it would not be too difficult to reassure Trump, to convince him that nukes were off the table. Now, all of this should be taken with a fistful of salt, because Iran is still enriching uranium and trying to produce weapons-grade nuclear fuel. If push comes to shove, Iran may choose to build nukes. Because, if nothing else, they would be a massive deterrent. But all that is in the realm of speculation for now. The fact is, Trump has reimposed his maximum pressure policy. His expectations are sky high. But if Iran actually stops its nuclear program, will the US back off? Or are nuclear weapons just an excuse to continue crippling Iran? We will see in the coming months.